Hey friends, welcome back to Naboo York City. Today we're here with a special guest, a native New Yorker, a Star Wars fan, and Loki. No, I was gonna be like my rival in loving Hayden Christensen.
When you show up to the Who Loves Hayden Christensen competition more and Star Wars is there.
Hold me, just like you did in Naboo York City. In a galaxy not so far away, this is Naboo York City, hosted by Juliet and Nicole Maricela.
We are joined by Kari AKA
estarguarstia. Hello.
Hi guys.
Welcome.
Gosh. Thank you so much for having me here, guys.
So good to have
We're
you
so
here.
excited.
Yes, we've been going through a list of people that we want to have on the show, and both of us were just like, Kari has to be on the show.
Oh my God.
I speak for both of us when I say you are one of our favorite people ever in the Star Wars community and in general. Kari is like the mother to ever, like most mother to ever mother. You are the Thea to ever Thea. Yeah, Thea is Theaing. We're gonna get into that. You're a Star Wars Thea persona. I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt.
Nicole is on.
For you specifically. I was like, oh my god, what am I gonna wear today? And then I found this in my closet, and I was like, this.
No, it's
Perfect.
perfect.
It's perfect. So yeah, we'll get into that a little bit. We're gonna ask you both some hard-hitting questions that we're both dying to ask.
Yes, I'm so down for this. Let's go.
Yay! But yeah, we're just really so happy to have you here.
No, I'm very excited to
And I'm
be
glad everything worked out. Because one thing about Thea, y'all, Thea is booked, busy, blessed. She be doing things, seeing people, making a name for herself, and doing panels, and other podcasts are beating down her door, asking to be there too. But guess what? We have her here in person.
Yes.
That's our angle. That's our edge. So naturally, we are far superior. No, I'm kidding.
Slee.
Yeah. So let's hear about you, about Kari first. What is Star Wars to you? Your story of how you were brought up with, how you were introduced to it, and then we want to know more about your. I don't want to say it's a persona because I'm sure you are actually a Thea, but your whole Star Wars Thea online and in person persona and brand.
Yeah,
let's
of course.
hear about
Well,
it.
first of all, guys, I am so honored and excited to be here with you.
Make us cry.
When Nicole, when you guys first told me on, so we have a new podcast that we're doing, and it's called New Naboo York City. I'm like, oh my God, that is like genius. It was amazing. I was like, that is so New
Stamp
York.
of approval from Thea.
Love it. Yes,
Absolutely. That's what we were striving for.
No. I was so excited. I was like,
That's actually the episode. That's all we needed to hear from you.
that's
You can go
it.
now.
There we go. They just needed the marketing. We're good.
Yeah. We should just say Kari was here and that she approves of the title, and that's it. No, I'm kidding. Go on.
No, but I honestly couldn't think of two better people to have a podcast and talk to everyone and such fun conversations. I know.
Don't even.
But no, and I love that you guys thought about me. That's a huge honor. I love you guys. You know that already.
We love you more.
And like Nicole said, I'm everybody's Thea, so I got your backs
Yes.
always, absolutely. And my love for Star Wars, oh my goodness. Well, I'm 42 years old now.
That's a lie.
Yeah,
I want everyone to know that.
I'm like,
Do you remember? Oh my God, we had a dinner with
Yes.
Thea last summer, and she told us her age, and I literally
We
slammed
all
my hand.
gasped.
I slammed my hand on the table, and I was like, "That's actually not true. Give me your fucking ID right now."
No,
Julia did the math for me because I can't do math. And Julia was like, "No, this checks out. That's and I was like, "That's still a lie." Anyway,
thank you so much.
like that's a lie. Absolutely not. There's
Trust
no
me,
way.
my body feels it. I may not look it, but my body feels it. No, but so I've been a Star Wars fan since I was 8 years old, so it's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
I've been for a very long time. It started actually with my cousin, my older cousin. He's a very nerdy, but he was from the streets too, so he was a very hood nerdy type of person, very New York thing.
That's so funny.
And so one night he just comes to me and my other little cousins younger than me, and he's like, all right, everybody's gonna sit down, we're gonna watch this movie, I don't want nobody talking, everybody pay attention. We were like, okay, cool. It was a big cousin.
Yeah.
So we were like, all right, fine.
Yeah.
So he puts on A New Hope, and we're like, oh my God, this is so cool, and all the special effects. And then you see the smoke coming through, in one of the scenes, and then this huge man in black just comes out through the doors. I'm like, 8-year-old me was just like completely
Transformed.
immediately mesmerized. I
Zaddy.
was like, oh my god, who is that?
Who said that?
And he starts talking with that voice. I'm like, wow.
James
he's
Earl
so
Jones.
cool. Yeah,
James Earl
the
Jones.
voice.
Yeah.
It was a seal.
Yeah.
Did it for me.
Oh my
Since
gosh.
then, Darth
A
Vader.
core memory.
Yes,
Yeah, absolutely.
super core memory. Because I remember him coming through the smoke. I was just like, whoa.
You're mesmerized.
So my Darth Vader from that moment on was the man for me.
I wish we could like zoom in or like have like another camera that goes. But she has Darth Vader's shoes.
Yes,
She
I do.
does. Yo,
I do.
Lift them up to the camera.
Well, you can't see. This is
You
too
can see
small,
it in the
but
master, actually, but yeah. Let's, wow.
yes, I have my Darth Vader. There's
Bro,
a
you
lot of
vets
Darth
out.
Vader shirts that I have.
You
Today I
are-
wanted to honor Boba though and Fennec because they're like really cool. And this
Yeah.
shirt is really cool from Hot Topic.
Hot topic. Hot topic. Get at your girl. Anyway.
But no, since then, huge Star Wars fan.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we watched the rest of the movies.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, that was I was 8 years old. It was like 91. Mm-hmm. Then a few years
Probably
later,
still not true, but go on.
and then after that, 99?
Mm-hmm.
We finally get the first prequel when we get Phantom Menace, and it was like, oh my god, finally! Because I didn't get into the Legends books.
Yeah.
I was just mostly about the original trilogy.
Sure, yeah.
That was like my main thing. So and but then once the prequels came out, it started all over again with the Phantom and everything. And then you see Phantom Menace come out and it was amazing, and Darth Maul with the double lightsaber, and I was like, oh my gosh, Star Wars is back. And then
Yeah.
and then we get Attack of the Clones and Anakin comes. I'm like, oh my god. I was like, is that Hayden Christensen?
The one and only.
Only. And then again,
We are going to get into that, and I'm going to step out of the room so you guys
It's gonna be.
it's gonna be very intimate.
Gotta be Julia. I'm so excited to get into that because I'm just gonna sit back and just watch the ping pong back and forth. We're gonna get into that. I'm so excited
But
for that.
no,
but yeah.
it was amazing seeing him in that scene.
Yeah.
I kind of knew of Hayden before. I always thought he was cute, and
Yeah.
I seen the movie Life as a House. Life as a House, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, yes.
Where he played like an emo.
Yes.
He's super emo person. And then I was like, I saw him in the movie. I was like, oh, he's perfect. For
¿Eres
this.
emo?
He's such a moody little teenager, No, but it was amazing. I was like, oh my god, he's so cute. So of course, I got
Yeah.
a little girl crush and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, Revenge of the Sith comes and he's just like full grown, long hair.
Oh,
That's your favorite movie, Star Wars movie,
Yes.
right? It's my
Yeah.
favorite
Revenge of the
movie.
Sith is my favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Because, we get all the emotions, all the love between him and Padme,
It's-
all the,
yeah, it's
all
just-
the drama.
yeah.
in between them. And then, of course, not a lot of the fans were, fans of the prequels. So, saying that you were a fan of the prequels was a very big, taboo thing because people were like so against it.
Yeah.
And the fandom the people that loved it got a lot of flack for it.
Yeah.
Being called fake fans, that we don't really understand Star Wars, stuff like, it was a very big thing. So I kind of like,
Kind of reeled
pulled
it in.
back.
Yeah.
We kind of had the
Back.
same sort of upbringing into that.
Yeah.
Because I also kind of stepped back a little bit.
Yeah. Julia tells me, like, in her experience or our experience in high school, she was kind of a little more reserved about it. And I'm like, God, like,
It was all on the inside.
Yeah, like it hurts to kind of hear that, especially with amongst your peers who are fellow Star Wars fans. Like that really hurt because like I wasn't brought up in it, so I don't understand that feeling. But I remember Julia one time was like, I'm really glad that you got into it. It doesn't matter how late you got into it. I'm really glad you did because now I have like a friend, and of course we all have a community, but she was like, now I have a friend that I can talk to about because in high school,
I didn't have anyone.
Yeah.
It was kind of isolating.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a little cathartic to hear that other people went through the same thing.
Yeah.
And just like, oh, I wasn't alone, but
Yeah. No, it did. It's so much so
it
that
can feel very
didn't-
isolating.
that I didn't even watch the Clone Wars when it came out.
Oh, shit.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Oh wow.
I knew of like the characters and like here and there, but like I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. So it
Yeah.
was like
So I was just I was just in my, I'm a Star Wars fan. So
Yeah.
my Darth Vader, mostly my Darth Vader stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Shirts and anybody mentioned, Darth Vader. Star Wars,
Yeah, I'm
whatever.
totally normal.
Yes,
Darth
yeah.
Vader.
Oh yeah, totally normal.
That was me with like.
I was literally hiding it because I couldn't. I would get like
Yeah.
my little figures and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh,
and
that's so
everything,
cute.
but,
Yeah.
And then COVID happened,
Yes. Yes.
and TikTok like blew up, right? And everybody was home and watching, all the videos and stuff. And then I started seeing. Well, before that, I started seeing videos on YouTube of like, Star Wars, people talking about Star Wars. Oh, this is so cool. Like, that started YouTube kind of before COVID started.
Right.
Getting me that interest back into the fandom.
Sure.
Kind of learned, talking again about Star Wars and stuff. But, it was just videos. You didn't really have a community or anybody to talk to, right?
Yeah.
And then again, so going back, COVID happens, and then you start seeing all these videos of people talking about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars TikTok exploded.
Blew up.
It blew up, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" And then you start seeing people doing these videos, and then people like having actual conversations in the comments, and then I was like, "Oh well, maybe I could start." My first Star Wars video TikTok was me doing a parody of Anakin.
Oh my god!
I think I remember this.
I don't think I saw this one.
No.
It was me doing Anakin singing Renee
by
by the Lost Boys.
kind of like
Because Renee in the song Renee dies and he's like He's like really in love. He's like lamenting and crying about how she died.
Yeah.
So it was me as Anakin singing that song about Padme.
I remember this
That's
like in
my
a distant
first-
dream. I swear.
That's
to
was
my
a
you.
fever dream
first
for you.
one. Yeah.
A fever dream for you.
Oh, I said distant dream. Yeah, same thing. I remember that TikTok of yours, and I remember one of the first ever TikToks I saw of you on my For You page was when you were talking about Boba Fett and how everybody was being lame as fuck, rightfully so, for body shaming him.
We're gonna get to that.
I remember that was one of my first videos I ever saw of you. I didn't follow you, but I was like, oh, this girl's got something to say and she's right about it. Like, move on. And then I remember maybe a couple months after that, you commented on one of my videos, and then I was like, oh my god, it's that girl who's talking about Boba Fett. She's so cool. And then I don't remember what your name was back then, but I know I had Tia in it, and I was like, do you want to be my tia? And she was like, yeah, of course. Follow, the rest is history.
Yes.
That was my
Family.
I think the first video that I saw of yours was the one about Hauser from the Bad Batch.
Really?
Oh, the
I
one
think
that
so.
is the Dominican.
Yeah, he's from Anchorman. I was like, wait, this is genius.
She gets me. She understands.
Only New York would understand because I was cackling. Oh my god, I saw that video and I was hysterical. It was so funny.
No, it was like, because I was like, wait, how's it with the haircut? You know that fade? It was in freaking New York. He's Dominican with those eyebrows.
Yes.
Oh, the eyebrows! Oh my god! But anyway, yes,
yes,
that was our first impressions of Thea. As you can see, incredible first impressions of her.
Yes.
because she does amazing stuff on TikTok. Yes.
So it was just funny because I was like, well, I consider myself a silly person too and stuff.
Yeah.
And again, I was able to combine my love for Star Wars with my silliness. And
Yeah.
those were like, I created certain personas. I was like,
I remember these.
I remember I created this character called Anita, which is my name backwards.
Yes.
And it was just basically me. I was a fast food worker, and I would like do stuff with Star Wars. Like I was.
Yes. I want to recall. I remember these too.
And then I would just do like silly songs of Anakin being like, I remember doing an Anakin one where he was like singing Obsession.
Yes. Oh my god, I remember this one.
This is gold.
You need to, I'm gonna sit you down and I'm gonna make you watch other videos. I should have done that beforehand. But yes, I remember this one. Yeah, I remember that one.
So it was just me being
cinema.
super silly about it. And then, but that's how I started kind of making my friends, started getting to know people and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the infamous video where I'm screaming at everybody about Boba
It's so
Fett.
good. It's so. Have you seen that one?
I don't know. I feel like I have, but I can't recall.
Yeah, that's like the one. That was like my first one that blew up.
We're gonna stop everything and watch it.
I'm screaming at everybody about everything. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my! I was like, Star Wars fans are so like, I was like going off on
Pretty sure I
everybody.
saw it.
Yeah. She
It's
was
one of my
going-
pins. You could you guys, if you got when you go on my TikTok, it's like one of the pin videos. You will see. I'm like.
Yeah, no, I remember
literally screaming at
and I remember
everybody.
seeing this
You'll get
energy, and
touched.
and then I clicked on her profile, and I think it said that you have in your bio that you're from New York, and I was like, this checks out.
Yes, yes.
Because the way you're like, y'all disrespectful, y'all are ugly, y'all stupid. I was like, oh yeah, she's right, period, and she's standing 10
Yeah, it was
toes down.
because I did it because people were fat shaming, basically.
Oh,
some
I
of the-
remember this.
Yes, they were
yes.
fat shaming Boba Fett. Who does that? You
Fucking
know.
stupid.
So I'm like, so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna scream to everybody about everything that everybody's complaining about.
And
then
ate it up. I loved it.
Everyone.
Yeah.
So at that point, my name on TikTok was Kari Skywalker.
Oh,
Change it,
I
yes.
remember this. Oh my god, I'm looking at every single game. Oh my god.
That was my name. It was Kari Skywalker.
Yes.
So
Yes,
I
remember
started
this.
getting comments from everybody. It's like, oh my God, yes. And you're so right, blah, blah, blah. And then someone's like, oh my God, you're like my tia. You should be, I'm like, oh, wait. She's like, yeah, I'm going to call you tia now. You're like my tia. I'm like, oh. I'm like, oh, well, yeah. He's like, because I'm like basically trying to defend everybody and scream at everybody like a tia would.
Yeah.
So, I was like, okay, well, then I responded to that and I started laughing. And I was like, you know what? Yes, I am going to be everybody's tia. I'm going to look out for everybody. And
my God.
that's when
That's
I
how
was
it
like,
was
oh, I'm a Star
born.
Wars tia.
Yes.
And then I picked a Star Wars because since I'm Latina and a Star Wars is, like we make a joke about it, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
that's how Spanish people would pronounce
That's
it.
how we say Star Wars.
Star Wars in
Star
Spanish
Wars.
is Star Wars.
Any word that starts with the letter S, we gotta.
Es.
Latinos gotta do
Es.
es. Strawberry.
We-
Star Wars.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
we had the
So-
E right before. So
Yeah,
then
yeah,
the guars, because that's
So
just
W the way that
yes. So I was like, this is perfect. I'm the Star Wars tia. It's like such a Latina
And
Star Wars
then
name.
a legend was born.
An icon.
An icon living. She flew the mother plane of a Star Wars TikTok. I need everybody to understand this.
Oh my God.
The inception of a Star Wars, not the inception, the birth of a Star Wars Thea is something I'll always remember in history. They're gonna write about this in the history books.
Yes.
Star Wars
Like,
history.
yes.
If you don't know a Star Wars Thea, like
What are you doing?
literally.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
No, so then from there, then the community, I of course more people started following.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
started
yeah.
getting to gonna.
That's how I
was
found you, I
blessed
remember.
to have found my people here, my family here,
Yes.
and then the rest is history. Everything
Yeah.
was. I'm just glad that I was able to find this community. You know, it's
Yeah.
such
Yeah.
a lot of amazing people and something that we didn't have back then
Right.
when the prequels came out and stuff. And actually, again, going back to COVID, I was like, well, I don't have all this time. Let me rewatch the movies but now I'm gonna rewatch everything.
Yeah.
The reason why I did that was because Mandalorian was gonna come out.
Yes.
Exactly, yes.
And I was like, oh, well, and then everybody started talking about this character named Ahsoka. I didn't know who that was. I was like, well, let me go watch all of this so that when Mandalorian comes out, I'm able to follow along.
Right.
Yeah. That's it.
I watched all 7 seasons in 2 weeks of the Clone Wars.
That's crazy.
Well, everything.
No, but it makes sense.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
But I
Oh
was
shit.
hooked. It was like amazing, such an amazing show. I watched it, and thankfully because I wasn't really in the fandom and online like that.
Yeah.
With Star Wars, nothing was spoiled for me. I
Exactly.
didn't know anything. So everything that I watched was brand new.
Wow.
Love Clone Wars. And
To
then I
watch
just-
the Clone Wars the first time again. I wish.
That was 2020 COVID. It's the first
Yeah.
time I watched it. And
Holy shit.
And then also because people were talking about the Clone Wars on TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On TikTok, so I was like, I want to be in the know. I want to be able to laugh and know what they're talking about. You know.
Yeah.
And then I got to Rebels. My favorite show of all time. Because that's my favorite Jedi, which is Kanan Jarrus.
Oh. Everyone always says that like they don't want to watch Rebels because it seems so kiddish. It's like the animation is like
Oh,
weird.
that's one of the things I screamed about it.
No, everyone
I
always
agree.
says that,
Animation,
and they're
yeah.
like after they watch it, they're like, wow, this is my favorite show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
No,
feel like
it
everyone
is.
does that.
I mean, I didn't think it was just different from the Clone Wars. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
It was just a little bit different, and so it was like, oh wait, okay, the lightsabers were kind of skinny and stuff, but it didn't really bother me.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
story though was amazing.
It's an amazing story.
Rebels, the character arc that each of them had, just it was something brand new.
Yeah.
Brand new characters that we didn't, that we hadn't seen before, and they were able to make them so enticing that we fell in love with them.
I think that's the most exciting element of a show like Rebels. You know what I mean? Like, of course, Clone Wars introduced new characters like Ahsoka and etc. But the fact that Rebels had a gang of new characters.
It was like fresh.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Fresh take.
Yeah.
And the fact that they were able to give us these characters that we were able to fall in love, because we tend to just stick to what we know.
Yes.
So of course Clone Wars was beloved because we already knew these characters.
Exactly,
Majority of these characters. But then again, the storytelling in Rebels was incredible, and just all 4 seasons was so great.
Yeah.
And then I continued. So I finished the whole saga, and then I was able to really get into Star Wars TikTok and really get into the conversations with everybody, and it was great. And I'm so happy. It's a beautiful thing to be able to have people that you can share this love with.
Yeah.
And then, it's not just Star Wars, but also everything else, Marvel, DC, all the nerdy stuff and everything. So yeah, that's basically
A
my
whole
story.
timeline of
And,
the first
my
mother to ever mother.
obsession. You guys start, if you don't know.
Oh,
start
we
following
will.
My obsessions.
Yeah. We're gonna get into the obsessions. But since you're, talking about community and finding a community online and all of that, I was interested to know about you've done panels before, and you've discussed lots of different elements of Star Wars media and elements of the Star Wars community. And you mentioned before, as we're talking about Star Wars, that you are Latina, and you've done panels before, and you've done Star Wars content online, talking about Latin identity in Star Wars media. And I'm really interested in hearing your take and your experience with Latin identity in the Star Wars community as well. Because again, you've done. I'm pretty sure you did was it at Celebration?
Yes,
Is that
Star
Celebration?
Celebration did 2 panels, yeah.
Yes, and one of them was talking about Latin representation in Star Wars. Yes.
Yeah, both of them were.
Oh, both.
Yeah,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
phenomenal. Yeah. So,
One of them was, specifically to Andor. And the other one was, broader, just in Star Wars in general. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to hear how Latin representation in Star Wars media and Latin representation in the Star Wars community itself. How has that kind of changed over time for you in specific?
Yeah. Well, I think that's you never really think about it when you're younger, because you're just interested in the characters. As marginalized communities, you always find since we didn't have that much representation in Star Wars like that, or in media in general growing up, you always attach yourself or find commonalities in maybe characters that don't look like you or don't sound like you, right?
Don't have a similar walk of life.
Exactly. Which is why I attach myself to Anakin, even though he's not white boy.
I toy with angst. Who
And
can relate to
yeah,
that?
exactly. So it was. I found a lot of relatable things with Anakin, so I attached myself, which is why he's my favorite character in Star Wars. But now that we are having a much broader spectrum of characters, and I feel it's very important now that I'm older. I can see why that's important and how that affects anybody growing up.
Right.
Because now you see all these new generations talking about, oh my God, that person looks like me, that person sounds like me, that character. I can attach, I can see myself in that character even more. So I think it's such a beautiful sentiment to be able to see that, something that I didn't have, that many of us probably didn't have. Seeing them now be able to, experience that, I think it's a huge improvement, very important.
Yeah. Did you ever feel a moment as you were growing up? Again, you've been a fan of Star Wars since you were 8 years old. So, like you said, you don't realize that type of thing when you're young. the prequels are full of white people. Ugh, like you don't. That's not the first thing you think about when you're watching the prequels as a kid. You're thinking about the lightsabers and the Jedi and Anakin and all those types of things. Was there ever a point as you were growing up that you like had that realization, like, oh, I don't really see myself a lot in my favorite franchise? And if you did have that moment, how'd you feel about that? And again, versus now, I mean, you already kind of explained how you feel about it now, that you're glad to see it and it's very important to you. But have you ever had a moment when you were kind of just like, oh, am I being represented in my favorite franchise?
I think it was when, just like when I was much older.
Okay.
You know, again, you don't really think about it. It's like, all right, I have my favorite character already. Is Anakin. That's fine. But then when you start seeing other movies or other franchises, and you see that they got a Latino character, it was I can't remember which one was the first one, which movie or which franchise, and then I saw them speaking Spanish in such a big. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I think it was I can't remember what it was or which franchise it was, but it was a very big, like one of the big ones.
I don't think of which one it was.
And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, it was just cool because I got so excited, like, speaking Spanish. And that's how I speak with my parents and, you know, stuff like that. So when that happened, I saw the lack of that in Star Wars.
I see.
You know? I was like, ooh, like maybe they could have had more. Yeah. So, you know, again, we know that with Star Wars before, you know, Disney and stuff, we had to wait a long time again before we got anything else after the prequels, right? Then we get Rogue One. Yes, exactly. Chills. Chills. Chills.
I'm trying to think. I mean, we had Jimmy Smith.
I was finding a moment to bring that up, and I'm really glad you did, because I feel like, not that I'm not saying that he kind of got away with any sort of like ambiguity during the prequels era, but I feel like that wasn't kind of like the selling point of his character or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It wasn't looked at, basically.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's that.
No, like I love that Jimmy Smith was, of course. Yeah. But again, like you said, it wasn't like a selling point. It wasn't like they were.
It wasn't like this thing that people were marketing, and I feel like it's kind of like that, you know, kind of like a dime a dozen type thing. Like he was just like he's a speck in the prequel era,
and it wasn't like a big deal.
There you go.
It's supposed to be a big deal.
It is
because,
but it wasn't celebrated,
right?
At all.
Yeah.
It's celebrated now.
Yeah, now we're finally celebrating.
Yes, but back in the day, it wasn't.
No, especially again because of everybody with the hate that the prequels are getting.
Right.
That was complete. It would have
totally
overshadowed.
Yes.
Absolutely overshadowed that. But again, it wasn't something that was celebrated anyway. It's like, oh, we have a Hispanic. Yeah, I never heard that. Nobody, you know, especially now with social media, it's easier to be able to celebrate and really bring out things like that.
Yeah.
Back then, you really didn't hear it like that. You know, now, newspapers are not going to print, or you know, magazines are not going to.
Breaking news is a Puerto Rican in Star Wars.
Puerto Rican in Star Wars. You know, of course not.
Yeah.
So when Rogue One came out,
it was
was big.
Yeah,
it was huge.
Yeah, it was. I think like the first. I didn't watch it when it first came out in theaters. That was 2016, 17.
It was
15?
16.
Yeah, because 15 was
Force Awakens.
There you go. But
it was in the middle between Force Awakens and Rogue One. And Last Jedi, rather.
Yeah, when I watched all the movies during quarantine, that's when I became a fan.
Yeah.
I remember I got to that movie, and Doug, my fiance, was like, oh, well, Diego Luna's in this, so you're probably going to like it. And I was like, oh, interesting. Okay, cool. Mexican Star Wars. Love that. And then when we watched it, and he kept his accent.
He did an interview, I forgot who it was with, but he spoke about his accent and that there was a fan who told him that their father was really
I love the story. I love the story.
Their father was so emotional because he heard his accent in a Star Wars film.
Star Wars movie.
I'm literally.
I'm gonna start crying.
Forming tears in my eyes because before a couple minutes back you were saying how you watched some movie and there was a character talking to their parents and you felt like you were being represented because that's how you talk to your parents. So hearing somebody like Diego Luna keep his accent, his Mexican accent in a Star Wars movie, and he is the protagonist, one of the protagonists in this movie. I was like, oh, okay, now I see where Star Wars had turned, kind of shifted their demographic and their target audience. So I think that's really important to talk about. And you said you did a panel specifically talking about Andor and representation. I think that's so important because with the easy access online and making content about Star Wars, that's something that you can't avoid. You can't avoid anymore.
Absolutely.
We are here. We're here. Like Star Wars fans in specific, we're here.
And Star Wars has a huge fandom in the Latin American countries.
It's
They do.
wild.
It's so big. It's absolutely big. So I can only imagine them hearing themselves, even if it's talking in English. Because I'm sure they watch the movies in Spanish. But
Sure.
But just them knowing that there's a character in the movie that has their same accent, that talks, the same way that they do.
Yeah.
It's huge. That video, I'm telling you,
Oh,
that video was like, oh my God.
No, it's very sweet, and it's very again, it's a very historic moment in Star Wars media in specific, but also just in general with big franchises.
The thing
Such
is,
a
I
big
feel like
franchise.
people don't really think about it because people do keep their accents.
Yeah.
All the English people keep their accents.
Exactly. All the English people get to keep their accents in all these movies.
But it was a huge deal.
Yes.
Such a
And Diego's just a phenomenal actor, but having him, just speak the way he normally does, it doesn't seem like something so major, but it is.
I think I hope in like 20, 30, 40, whatever years from now, it's not a big deal in the sense that like it's more common.
Yes.
It's always
Yes,
going to
yes.
be it's always going to be very important to have that representation and to know that you have this representation. But I hope one day we're not like,
It's
oh
just
my God, this is
normalized.
this
That's
is so
one of the-
new and fresh.
That's one of the things that in the second panel we were just talking about, Latina representation in general, where, there was a lot of discussion of how important it is for our stories to be told in such a big franchise and stuff. But I also mentioned that I would also like for us to have a character that, because he's Latino, it has to be Latino stuff. No,
Right.
I was saying like, have a Latino person be like a James Bond or Harrison Ford, where they just they're an action movie star. That's what they are, type of thing. And this is a normal thing for us to see.
Yeah. I
That
agree.
we don't have to be like, oh, we finally got the Latino person doing a big, thing.
And it's great that somebody like Cassian Andor doesn't fall into any like strange Latino stereotypes. One, because we're in outer space, right? So whatever. But like, the fact that we don't have any sort of like stereotypes to fight against, or any sort of like, oh great, we know where this story is gonna go, you know what I mean? Because he's such an like now that he has his own show, it's such an expansive story of someone who truly is a hero in the rebellion, and I think if I remember correctly, you also talked about how like sometimes being a Latino and having Latinidad in a big franchise like Star Wars can come with a crutch, because again, we got really lucky with somebody like Cassian Andor, who doesn't have all these stereotypes lashed onto him. However, Star Wars has missed sometimes with characters like Poe Dameron, whose jacket I'm wearing right now, who falls into the Spice Runner type, and we know what Spice Runner translates to in the Star Wars universe and things like that. How do you feel about that? Like,
I was actually gonna bring that up.
Oh,
that
yeah.
We had to deal with that stereotype. Not only that, with the Martez sisters as well.
as well.
Yes.
Ooh.
We're gonna start Martez sisters in Clone Wars last season with Ahsoka. Which I understand. I mean, I get it that they're trying to. The story was that what else can they do, like, because they grew up in the lower bowels of Coruscant, and it's very hard to get a job, so they had to make do with what they had because they were orphans and stuff.
Sure.
But it doesn't always have to be that way. We would love the story where they grew up as orphans, but they were able to get out of that and have some type of success story.
Yeah,
Doesn't,
for sure.
It always seems like that's like the easy way out.
Yes.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that in future projects we can have something that's a little bit more common, maybe like a Jedi, or like like a normal person who fights for the rebellion, something like that. But
wouldn't that be nice?
hopefully one day.
No,
but I love that. That's why with Ender it's really cool, because we don't get the stereotype. We will also get kind of like an immigrant story with him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
But that is not in a negative way.
Yes.
he
Completely
was
agree.
he was orphaned. He was basically taken,
Yeah.
you know, by
That always happens.
That's
in
fair.
Star-
he was
Kind of
taken.
plucked, yeah. Not here nor there, but yeah.
And he's such a complex character, you know.
Yeah.
Is not a complete hero or a villain,
For sure.
you know, anti-hero type of thing.
Yeah,
until
yeah.
we get to the end where he's like fully realizes his potential as a hero.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
stuff. So it was really, really cool to see him, that character. We were able to relate to him in the immigrant story way, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, totally.
and in Star Wars, which is great, you know. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
I want to circle back to complex characters in a second. But how do you feel again, with Star Wars progressing and having more Latin characters show up in their media, how do you feel like that's reflected in the community, online or in person, for you?
No, I think it's great. Again, because we have all this bigger representation, people are able to come out now and really express themselves even more.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, I agree.
they're sharing. They feel more comfortable being able to talk about, you know, Star Wars, because now I see myself more in this.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's a huge positive in the community, because now we're getting not only just one perspective on things, you know, one view on things. We're getting all these different views, which help shape who we are as a community. You know, but there's a lot of toxicity, of course we know. They don't call them
not
the
news.
fandom menace
fandom
for no
menace.
reason. the bros,
Happy
you know,
25th anniversary.
yes, the Star Wars bros.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's always important to have that. That way we can come, you know, kind of fight against all of this
Yeah.
toxicity that's going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because you had mentioned again how it was kind of isolating and lonely growing up as a Star Wars fan in high school and all
Yeah.
that, and before you going and joining TikTok. So I wonder, for the two of you, like, once Star Wars TikTok started blowing up, did you find also a validation in other fans who look like you, sound like you, have similar upbringings as yourselves?
For sure.
Like,
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it really opened the doors,
yeah.
because like I said, like for a while I didn't have anyone, and I didn't have anyone to like talk to, and if I try to bring it up, it's like, oh, they didn't really like Star Wars or whatever. But TikTok was definitely like a very big outlet for a lot of people. I was still a little hesitant about posting Star Wars stuff, just because I knew the fandom menace and like, oh, do you like it, or like quizzing me on this and this and this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being a female Star
Yeah.
Wars fan,
Yeah.
being a Latina, all that stuff.
It's like pick a struggle, y'all.
Yeah, but then
and Latina and Star Wars nerd, you're cooked.
I realized that we all are kind of like in the same kind of boat together, and I guess that's kind of how you find community. 'Cause
Yes.
when there's like a positive space, you can thrive.
Yeah. I feel like there's so much more nuanced conversations too that you can have, again, with people
Yeah.
in similar walks of life as
Yes.
you, again, because, you know, there's certain Star Wars fans who don't understand, and we'll get into that later too, who don't understand like the politics of the franchise.
Yes.
That most marginalized, disenfranchised people
Yes,
do understand.
we see Star Wars in a different light than
Yes.
a lot of people.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very different.
It's a good thing. It's also a bad thing, but like,
Yeah. No.
I think it helps us be a better fan.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that another thing that's important about like, you know, the community, finding a community, and how this community was built in Star Wars, was because we have certain people before TikTok and stuff, big creators on YouTube, that started creating this toxicity that we see, right? And I will admit that I went kind of down that rabbit hole, because that was the only thing that I was watching, because that was the only thing that was out there.
Right, yeah.
You know? So I was thankful that I was able to find this community and actually have these conversations where I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't see it that way. Or, oh, I didn't know that. That was total misinformation, what this other people were talking about. So I thought that was such an important thing for this community to be able to build, and that way we could have these conversations and kind of like, okay, well, we have to change our mindset because that's not the right way to, be talking about this.
I think I'm a pretty positive person. I love
Yes.
like all types of Star Wars media. It's very hard for me to hate something.
Yeah.
So I never say that I hate a specific Star Wars.
Yeah,
movie.
yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe it's like my lower down on the list, but growing up, I was never like in the community or whatever, and I always just watched Star Wars on my own, whatever. But I knew like pockets here and there of just like things that were happening in the community, right? And I even knew about this like toxicity that's happening, even though I wasn't like completely in the like Star Wars community. It's kind of like you just know, and that's what kind of sucks about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah.
No, I think it's really validating again to see yourself in the media that you enjoy so much, and then be able to talk about it with people who look like you and
Understand.
exactly.
When TikTok like came around, or like when the pandemic happened, it was eye opening because I didn't think that other people liked Star Wars more than I did. So it was a little jarring at first because it was like, oh, there's a lot of people, a lot of people. Like, I knew there was a lot of people, but it was a little bit more eye opening.
Yeah,
I think.
But it was also isolating before that because like whatever I would hear about Star Wars fans, it was just like it was always like mostly, oh, it's a guy thing.
Yeah.
And it's a guy nerdy thing. Only guy nerds are into it. I'm like, okay, so maybe there's not a lot of girls that are into it and stuff. So again, that helped with the isolation thing of me reeling back. Like, oh, they just want to make Star Wars a guy thing, you know? So when, Star Wars TikTok exploded, I was like, oh my God, there's so many, like, ladies and females and everything. Like,
I think that's what also caught me off guard. I was like, there's a lot of female fans.
Yeah.
I'm not alone. And then when I was really excited when you started watching Star Wars because I was like, my best friend likes Star Wars.
Oscar Isaac, thank you, sir.
No, literally put me on the map for that.
Thank you, Oscar Isaac.
I mean, yeah, that definitely did help, lure me into the fandom. But he's also, besides what happened with Poe Dameron's storyline, he's also a big example of why I think Latinidad in Star Wars is so important, because his character is a humongous hero, and they incorporated his Latinidad like a little bit, because Yavin 4 scenes from the original trilogy, I believe, were filmed in Guatemala.
Oh, nice.
And
Really? I didn't know
yeah, I'm very certain some of them. Somebody can fact check me and tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm very certain that some Yavin 4 scenes were filmed in Guatemala. And as we know, Oscar Isaac is half Guatemalan.
Yes.
They made Poe Dameron's home planet Yavin 4.
Okay.
So
That's
technically,
really cool. I didn't know that.
I didn't know. No, Star Wars fact.
It's Star Wars fact.
We found this out recently that Eluyuni was used for the Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Well, I think you knew this, but I didn't know this. for sure.
So for the Last Jedi, that scene on what planet was it? Crate? No,
Crate. Yes,
Crate.
Crate.
Oh, great.
With the red.
Oh, great. Okay, yeah. The last battle.
That is filmed in El Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia.
Okay.
It's the
Where
largest
my- yeah.
salt flat in the world.
Yeah, where my family's from. So I think when I first saw the movie back in 2020, I was like, oh, this is so interesting. And then I, of course, I look up fun facts, and then that's when I found out that it was filmed in Bolivia. I was like, what? The heck?
You're connected.
I know. I was
Star Wars.
super, then right then I was like, oh, I'm locked in. I'm super connected to this now. And then putting the connection, like, oh my God, Oscar Isaac was on Bolivian soil? What? Like, we're just that much closer now. Like, no, it is super validating. Since I wanted to go back to speaking about complex characters, the two of you share a very favorite complex character in common.
And actor.
Let's get into the phenomenon that is Anakin Skywalker / Hayden Christensen.
First of all, hold on.
Oh no, here she goes.
Wait, I don't even know if you can see it. This camera.
Her camera.
Listen, if I could, I would show you my back tattoo.
Oh my God. I just remembered that before because I saw your other tattoo over here. I've seen this tattoo. It's amazing. It's a masterpiece.
I've seen a photo of this. No.
Yes.
Tell
yes,
the
it's a
people
picture.
Yeah.
what
It's-
the tattoo is.
It's Vader,
Oh yes.
Anakin, and Padme all together.
Amazing.
The unholy trinity.
Yes.
Because Padme was married to both.
Exactly. So tell me, both of y'all, not all at once, but both of y'all, tell me. I mean, you talked about what drew you to Vader the most, the voice and appearing out of smoke, kind of, and all that. But I want to know from both of y'all's perspectives, what really is such a defining. God, I'm in between.
Giddy, like, oh my God, we're talking about.
I'm in between a giddy sandwich right now. I don't know how I No, what is the most defining feature of Darth Vader? What does he symbolize the most to the both of you? Either of you can answer first.
You're like starts eye twitching. We all know that Anakin and Darth Vader is so heartbreakingly tragic.
Yeah, most tragic story in all of Star Wars.
There was a time where I felt like I could relate a lot to Anakin, and I feel like I've gotten past that point. So I feel I'm a better person now.
Growth.
Yeah, growth.
But in those moments, I truly felt what he was feeling. I felt like I could relate a lot to him, feel the feelings that I was feeling, feel the emotions, and out of all that like heartbreak and anguish and all that stuff, you can grow as a person, and that's what he did basically. He redeemed himself. Why are you?
That's so profound.
I thought you were gonna be like, no, but he did redeem himself at the end. Luke helped him turn back to the light side, and oh my God,
I know.
I feel like a lot of people can relate to that as well.
Yeah.
He turned to the dark side because he was trying to save the person that he loved, but he was seduced very quickly, I think his intentions were.
That's definitely up for debate by some people, but yeah.
I'm an Annie Bella stan.
I am too.
Period.
Just so you
Period.
know.
Yeah. What is when you hear Darth Vader? What does that mean to you, and what sticks out to you the most?
Well, before the prequels came out, I just loved Darth Vader because he was such a badass. Obviously, we didn't know his tragic past story.
Yeah.
We didn't know anything. At the end when we see Luke basically bring him back to the light, that was a beautiful thing. But for me, Vader was just like such a badass character. He was
I relate to that as well.
Very villain. But then when the prequels came out, I fell in love with Anakin because same way as you, there was a lot that I can relate to. A lot of certain events in my life that affected me growing up, and then seeing Anakin start off as a little boy with so much hope, so much life, so much beautiful
promise.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. He was so positive, and I want to help people and everything. And I think myself of when I was a little kid, I was the same way. I was very cheery and then things happen that affect you. Yes. And you grow up and that changes you so much.
Yes.
Same way that it changed Anakin, Anakin went through so much pain from having to leave his mother to then having to lose his mother in that way. And then that affected him so much that he basically started reverting, even more away from that little boy that we knew in Phantom Menace. And that was kind of, in that way I can relate because, again, events when you're growing up, things that happen.
They break you.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes. And then just having that hopeful story of, if somebody like Anakin can be redeemed and can come back, then that means that
There's
someone like me can too,
Yes.
So that was a very big reason why I attached myself so much to Anakin. Yeah. And then even I fell in love not fell in love more, but then it hit me even more with Anakin. I don't know if you guys have read the short story Brotherhood, and from a certain point of view from Mike Chen. Yeah. Okay, I'm not gonna spoil too much, but that story just put the bow in Anakin's story for me. You're gonna no when you
There you
read
go.
it.
Book
Listen,
club.
you have to read it. Brotherhood from a certain point of view. Return of the Jedi. The Brotherhood by Mike Chan. When you
Okay.
read that story, Julia, you're gonna cry at the end. I'm telling you that right now because the way that I cried, I was like a baby. It's
I don't know
just
if it's in the budget for Julia to cry more.
I cry all the time.
Budget?
and then we have cried a lot. Anakin has brought a lot of
me.
tears.
Cuts to me crying. Oh, okay. This is a good segue. Were we were at Star Wars Celebration last year
Yes.
in England.
Yes.
Were you in the crowd when Hayden came out on the Star Wars live stage?
Yes.
Chills.
And then he started crying. Please. I wanted to run and hug him so bad.
We were in a big group.
Yeah, it was
and then
five.
it was 5.
Yes.
Yes. But things just happen, and
Lots going on in
people
the
take
convention.
forever to
Yeah.
come out. Just a whole bunch of things like signings and things like schedule change or whatever. So it was a little bit of a wait, but we did see Ashley Eckstein, Ewan McGregor, and then eventually Hayden Christensen came out. I was in the crowd with Zoe, and
Yes.
I was so emotional.
Look at,
I'm gonna stop it! I can't look at you. I was so emotional just because, again. Oh no!
I'm looking at her and I'm tearing up because I'm looking at her.
I'm gonna look through it.
Fucking, why did I even ask this question? I was like, oh, it's gonna be so exciting. You're just like giggling, kicking your feet. Talking about
I'm a ballerina.
I really thought you guys just like gab and be like, this is like,
Okay, wait. I'm gonna go back a couple years. Hold this moment. But we're gonna go a couple years back. 2021 at New York Comic Con, they announced that Hayden was gonna do photo ops and autographs, and I never thought I would see the day that this man would come
like show
out
up in public,
and do signings and photos. I truly thought that it was never gonna happen.
It was
and that
over.
I was never gonna meet
the light.
The love of our lives.
Yes, our
Okay, ours.
our lives.
no, but I think I reached out to you when that happened.
Yes.
Because I know that you love him. And I was like, oh my god.
We were like,
It's
oh my god,
happening.
oh my god.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Oh.
We got that email saying our guest of honor is Hayden Christensen. I was like, yes,
Laps. She's laps.
So it was his return to Star Wars basically, because we hadn't seen him since 2005.
Yeah.
Like he was nowhere near Star Wars. And I think it was a little bit because, well, not a little bit, a lot of it
Mostly,
because
yeah.
of, the hate and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was, you haters,
Yeah.
he did not deserve any of the hate. He was phenomenal as Anakin.
Yes.
He is Anakin. He is the chosen one.
Yes.
Anyway. Sorry. No, but yeah, we hadn't seen him for like 10 plus years.
Yeah.
And he came back and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, being part of in that crowd, I couldn't.
Oh yeah, fast forward to 23.
3.
Well, at 2022, yes, he was at Celebration.
Oh,
in
he
Anaheim.
yes,
He didn't do any photo ops or autographs, but he was there.
Shut up,
He
yeah.
did panels and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to see him. But I think last year's celebration was a lot more emotional because everyone was just there in full on support, and I was in the crowd. We're gonna start crying.
Okay.
I'm not gonna look at you. I was in the crowd with Zoe. There's video evidence of me crying like a maniac.
When he started crying.
He was like,
y'all making me cry. It's crazy.
I was crying. He was crying.
I think we all.
Patty was crying. We were all crying. I think we were at the gift shop.
I don't know where I was, but I remember seeing the video on YouTube afterwards, and I was like, oh wow, that here's even if you weren't in the room, seeing it in person or online, you could feel the energy and just.
It was a huge crowd.
Yeah.
Huge. If you watch the video, it's like a sea of people, and I'm in there somewhere.
Yes. We're in there somewhere.
No, but it was just, it's the fact that there's just a sea of people who are all anchoring this man in this
Chanting
one.
support.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I have chills. I'm gonna start crying. But he is the sweetest man.
Yes, he is.
The nicest man. The most humble.
Listen, we will advocate for Hayden.
He is a good man,
Always.
Savannah.
Yes, he is a good man.
He is truly a gem of a person, and
Yeah.
I'm so glad that he's getting all the love and support that he really deserved over the
Yeah.
past years. Yeah.
Because I'm sure, like, again, even though there wasn't social media back then,
It's still
it
got-
was still out there, especially
Yeah,
on
it still got
YouTube,
the
you know, with
actors.
YouTube and everything, and
Yeah.
and just the critics.
Oh, yeah.
On, you know, on print and newspapers or
Yeah.
articles and stuff like that. He
Yeah.
saw all of that. And obviously not only him, Ahmed Best as well,
Yes.
Jake, you know, Jake as well. So, but he was hit the hardest because he was like, people were disappointed in the character, and they took it out on him and said that he did a horrible job when that's what he was instructed to do.
It's
But I thought it was
Yeah.
amazing. That was how he's supposed to play the character. You know?
he literally did what he was told to do.
Yes.
George Lucas said,
Be an angsty little, you know, emo boy,
Yeah.
and that's what he did.
And I think he did that really well.
Yeah, he nailed
Wasn't
it.
he 19 when he first started filming Star
I believe
Wars?
so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was like
yeah.
20, so
Yeah.
even better, because nowadays we have 30-year-olds playing half their age,
Mm-hmm.
which could sometimes work, sometimes not, based on the actor's experience as a human outside
Yeah.
of whatever franchise they're part of, and their looks, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like when you have a teenager playing an angsty teenager, you're gonna get something
you're
good.
gonna
You're gonna
get-
get something
yes.
of substance, right? So I feel like that. I think Hayden did exactly what he knew what he was supposed to do, and in such a unique,
Yeah.
interesting, captivating way.
Yeah.
So
No, it was. And then I guess because, you know, Hayden is not really, he doesn't have any social media presence.
it's not very public
At
which,
all.
Yeah,
he's,
He's
on
not.
a farm in Toronto.
Yeah, exactly. He's chilling in his little farm. So
yeah. Which y'all frequent, right? Y'all
I'm
visit
sure
him a
he
lot.
didn't really see all of the love that he started getting years later, you know, except until he really came back into the scene
Yeah.
I
again.
think that's what hit him. On the
Hit him,
moment last
exactly.
year.
I think he only did, I might be completely wrong, but I think he only did New York Comic Con 2021 because Obi-Wan was coming out.
Yes.
And you know, there was talks that he was coming back, and I was very excited. We were very excited.
Yeah.
we were all
We
very
were.
excited, but we
Yeah.
weren't like 100% sure. And then New York Comic Con announces guest of honor, Hayden Christensen, and
Immediately. It was
it's
like,
literally
I have
his
to go
return to Star Wars.
Yes.
Because he was in Ahsoka. He's
Oh yeah.
most likely going to come back for a second season, hopefully.
Yes.
He's in another project as well. I forgot what it was.
So he was Obi-Wan and then Ahsoka.
Yeah,
And then I don't know if he's gonna
there was something that was going to happen,
A Star Wars.
a Star
project.
Wars project, but I can't remember what it was.
I
I might be completely.
I was just excited to have it. But the thing is that the
Interesting.
thing is that he look at you know, right now with what happened with the Empire State Building, that whole marketing, and they made Hayden the face of it.
Because he is the face.
He is Star Wars.
He's he is Darth Vader. He is Anakin.
You know what's more? Didn't in the Actors on Actors interview that Diego Luna and
Yes.
Anakin
Yes.
and Hayden do together? Sorry. Diego Luna said something to the lines of that. He was like, because Hayden, of course, is being humble. Was like, oh no, I'm not part of it. You know what I mean? Like it's just so humbling to be a part of Star Wars. And Diego, I think,
Yes,
He said something along the lines.
you are Star Wars.
Yeah.
You are Vader. Vader is Star Wars. Therefore, you are Star Wars. I think, therefore, I am. That's the one thing I learned in philosophy class. Please let me have it. But you know what I mean? Like I feel like all his peers and all, you know, the fans and the community, they all know his value and they all know who he is, not just as an actor, not just as his character, but as who he is as a person, as a human, as an artist. You know, so I'm really glad. I feel like that hit him. Last
Absolutely
year
did. At celebration when everybody was just chanting for him.
So sweet.
And you know, I know that just at that moment he was just probably like,
oh wow,
this love that I'm getting finally now, like, because he never felt that support, that love back then.
I know.
gonna start crying.
Yeah.
You know what? We'll switch up the mood now. We'll have a little fun with you right now. We're gonna do a little game with Kari. We'll call it My Favorite Star Wars Things. It's gonna be we'll do a little fast. What's the word? A speed round with you.
Okay.
All right. We're just gonna ask you some quick things, and you answer as fast as you can and as earnestly as you can.
Let's do this.
Ready?
Yes.
Do you wanna?
Okay. Favorite Revenge of the Sith moment?
When Anakin is in the tower by himself and he doesn't utter a word, it's just all of the emotions, everything that's going on, everything is in his face. Just the tears streaming.
Beautiful.
You don't have to say anything.
It like flashes back with Padme.
Yes. The back and forth. Nobody's saying anything. It's just everything in his. Oh, Hayden did such an outstanding job with that. Oh my God.
All right. Next one. Favorite lightsaber color?
Blue. Definitely blue, just because it's Anakin's, and I just
Iconic.
blue is my favorite color.
Okay.
So yeah, blue is definitely it.
Interesting. Okay. Next.
Favorite Star Wars quote?
Star Wars quote?
Quote, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna
5, 4. No.
I think it's gonna be Padme's. This is how liberty dies with thunder.
So good.
I don't know if anyone has ever said that one.
I don't think anyone has ever said that.
Really good.
That is a great one.
Love Padme.
Well, speaking of Padme, next one. Favorite Padme outfit.
Oh, this one right here.
Queen,
This outfit
literally
is genius.
queen.
Absolutely.
Queen. I just love it because it's just it's very different and very ostentatious and elegant. So, yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, literally.
That's a good choice.
Like a
Yeah. What was the last one? More.
What was the question?
Oh yeah.
Oh, if you could have any Star Wars creature as a pet, which one would it be?
Any Star Wars creature?
Yeah.
As a pet? I would.
And why?
A loft cat. Because they're so feisty, but they're so cute,
Yes.
and they will defend you
Yeah.
because they're so feisty.
I love cats. I have cats. I would also pick a cat.
I'm a dog person, but those loft cats are just. I love
Very
that
sweet.
they're very fiery spirits.
Who would you pick, Nicole?
Who would I pick? Oh gosh, I'm not a real Star Wars fan, but I'm forgetting Ahsoka's her.
Oh,
owl?
the condor.
Yeah. There you
Morai.
go. Yeah.
Morai,
Yeah. I would have that. How about you? Well, actually, I know, but
I would pick a porg.
I was gonna say the porgs would probably be my second.
I
They're
love
so cute.
porgs.
I love Oscar Isaac's quote. I love to eat them.
Chewie would agree.
See? Not alone in this.
There's
sense.
have you gone to Galaxy's Edge?
No, it's only my first time this week.
Whoa!
Oh my god.
Take all
Okay.
the pictures. Okay, but if you go into the Falcon, there's like a little waiting area before you actually do Smuggler's Run.
Yeah.
There's like so many like cute photo ops.
Yes.
You have like the hollow chessboard, and like if you actually look in little pockets, there's porg nests.
Oh.
There's like one behind the main round bench.
Yeah.
And there's one like off to the side. I think there was another one like kind of like hidden away. But there's little porg nests. Porg's nests.
Okay, I have to look up for
They're
this.
so cute.
Thank you for participating in my favorite Star Wars things.
Oh
That was my
my God,
favorite
love
Star Wars
it,
things
yes.
with Star Wars.
Yeah.
So we could gab with you for hours and hours and hours on end about Hayden Christensen and Latin characters, but I want to finish off with I think a heavy but kind of important somewhat topic that I had mentioned way earlier in the episode. Lots of people fail to realize or purposely ignore that Star Wars is about politics, about war, and about marginalized groups and things of that nature. And without getting to specifics, the state of the world, I feel like sometimes can reflect what is exemplified in Star Wars media. So it's also no secret that estarguarstia is a very outspoken person in person and online.
Yes.
So
That's why we love her.
and we love that. So when you do speak out on specific things that happen in real life, how do you feel? Do you feel like because you were such a big fan of Star Wars, that maybe that love and that passion that you have for the franchise kind of gives you the confidence to speak up about certain things? Like, have you ever felt in any moment like, okay, well, if my favorite character in X franchise would speak up about this, so should I? Mm-hmm. Like, has that ever brought out a certain confidence in you?
No, of course. Ever since again, as a kid, you don't see Star Wars in that spectrum. It's just an action and adventure fantasy story. But when you grow up, you start seeing all these things, and when you start when you find out what George Lucas wanted Star Wars to be about, not just a fantasy story, a fun story, but also put serious topics of real world issues. I think my love grows more because I am so involved in real life things, and it's very important to me.
Yeah.
And anytime that I can, I will use Star Wars quotes or Star Wars stuff to talk about real life issues, especially with current situations that are going on right now.
Yeah.
And especially with Andor. Andor has so many things that you can quote and you can use to kind of correlate with what's going on currently in the world. And I think that's very important. That's why when people try to downplay it, like, I don't want politics in my Star Wars. And like, Star Wars has always been that from day one. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I think I have to have George Lucas's one interview. I think it was James Cameron that interviewed him.
Okay.
Talking about how, what Star Wars
is really about.
Where does it come from?
Right. I think it has to be plastered every single time.
Right.
Because a lot of people miss, like, the point.
A lot of people overlook that Star Wars is truly based on politics.
Yeah.
And they don't want to ever admit it. But what do you think Star Wars
It's in the name.
is?
It's literally about an oppressive regime.
Yes.
Which it's the fact that we could still relate that story to now after so many years. Just it kind of like puts you in a perspective, like, damn, we have been in war for
40 plus years.
Forever.
No, literally ever.
There's always something new, but the story never changes. It's the same thing, the same issues that we still are dealing with in real life. So it's a great thing that we have Star Wars, the representation of that in Star Wars. That
absolutely.
way, again, we can like kind of I don't want to say correlate both of them in a way that we can use Star Wars to escape that. We can't.
Yeah. Right, there you go.
We can't. I want my Star Wars. I watch Star Wars to escape. To escape what? You're seeing the same thing in the story that you're seeing in real life.
You can't help but laugh sometimes because it's so ridiculous. It's like
right. And I imagine if you are an avid and a true Star Wars fan, you're going to understand that part. Right. And I think the two of you both have like a really, again, since you were brought up in this, you both have a very solid understanding of what Star Wars exactly is about. It's fun, the lightsabers and all, and the Jedis and the different planets and all that. That's fun. It's new, it's adventurous, it's exciting. But I think to be a well-rounded Star Wars fan or just somebody with fucking media literacy, you have to really.
I mean, for God's sakes, Phantom Menace was about taxes,
right?
Tariffs,
exactly.
And stuff,
I think when you're growing up as a young child into Star Wars, you don't. It's also face value. Like, you don't really know what's happening until you literally sit down and focus on all the dialogue on the scroll.
Yeah.
And actually read what's going on. Yeah. I think you do understand when you get older. But I will say that Padme was always very outspoken. Her and also Chi-Chi in the Clone Wars.
Yes.
Very outspoken. I think that's also what helped me and other people growing up in Star Wars to be like, oh, maybe we should be thinking about things in a different light. We should be paying attention to things that are happening in the real world.
I think Star Wars definitely raises specific generations of freedom fighters and warriors and anybody who wants to make a change in current history. So Yeah. Ugh. I think I speak for both of us when I say we we love you even more now. Not that we didn't before, but just being able to have a conversation with you so focused and so
It could be Slee, but also serious.
yeah. Just
And that's what makes a great friendship.
We both love you and what you do online, and being able to be your friend in person. Gadi's been here many times. We're in my apartment, and she's been here many times for birthdays and Friendsgiving. Yeah.
Yes.
So I again, I think I speak for the both of us when I say we really do consider you a friend, a tia.
I got your back always.
No, literally. Like I remember, like me and Julia gab about you all the time too. Whenever we see you online, or see that you're doing something fun, and like we really we have. I feel like we both have a very strong sisterhood. So with each other. So to have a tia again, it feels like family. In addition to that, it just feels like a little family, and I love it very much.
I love it too. And again, I'm just thankful that all this Star Wars thing was able to bring me to you guys. So I'm grateful, and I'm so happy and honored to be here and be able to call you family.
We love you so much. I'm so happy. We're both so happy that this was able to work out. Just to end on a good note, what else are you looking forward to in Star Wars media? What's the show or movie that you're like, I cannot wait.
Oh my God! This. Right now, I am excited for the Acolyte.
Sorry.
Just so normal with Acolyte. So normal.
I'm a very big High Republic fan. And
oh yeah, that's right. You are.
I'm a huge High Republic fan, and just getting to a story that is about that time era, that is such a high era for the Jedi. But now that we know that this is when basically the Jedi Order starts declining from there, that's going to be such an interesting story.
Yes.
So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I am looking forward to stories outside of the Skywalker saga. Yeah. See what else we can get. Of course I love Anakin, and I love, the Vader. And I'm also, of course, the Rey movie is gonna come out. Finally, we're getting, more stories from the future. But the Dawn of the Jedi movie is gonna be really interesting too, because it happens, I think, 25,000 years before the prequels.
Yeah.
So cool.
So we're gonna see how everything started, and then the beauty of that is that this is a great way for them to introduce even more representation. We're gonna be able to get so many different types of characters.
I agree. Yeah.
So I'm really excited for that too. All these different stories happening so far in the future and so far in the past.
Oh my God.
Yay, Star Wars.
Yay, Star Wars. Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Well, yeah. Well, speaking of Star Wars, where can the people find you online? And
so I am on TikTok, on Twitter, and on Instagram as estarguarstia. I post, right now it's been a little bit slow with TikTok. I'm very active on Twitter.
Hell yeah.
Very active on Twitter.
Hell yeah, you are.
I do, of course I do a lot of Star Wars content, but also anything nerdy, any pop culture conversations.
Yes.
Marvel, DC, or anything that's going on in the media, I like to talk about. So.
Fantastic. We cannot recommend her more to you
Follow
guys.
her.
So yes, follow Estarguarstia immediately. If you want a supportive, beautiful, intelligent, caring tia in your life, you follow this lady, okay? You follow her, because if you're not, what the fuck are you doing? Once again, thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. And I'm looking forward to your adventure next week at Disney.
Yes,
please share.
Time in Galaxy's Edge, so it's going to be very exciting.
I expect pictures.
And Star Wars Night.
Videos.
Yes. Definitely TikTok's going to be there.
Oh my God. Yes.
Look out for that.
All right, Naboo Yorkers. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's let the close off the episode. Close it off with your favorite Anakin quote. What do you think Anakin would leave?
I don't know if he has any quotes to close out.
Or
I love
any
Padme. That would be what he said.
You're so
beautiful. I'm so in love with you. No, I'm so in love with you.
Perfect. That's it. That's over. That's the end of the episode. Bye, Naboo Yorkers.
Bye.
Perfect.
Oh my god.
Perfect. That's all we needed.
That was great.